How's it going, everybody? It is I, your statistics brigade Yokai Poppy Wolf, and today we're going to be talking about Antman and the Wasp, Quantumania. Let's jump into it, man. I've been sitting on this review for a second, so let's just talk about what I think about the movie, quick summary, and then overall things I loved and liked about it. We're going to go into it. I'm trying to be more organized when I do reviews, so let's jump right in. For those who don't know, I will be doing some spoilers in my summary. I try not to do too many, but there might be things in there that you probably don't like. So if you're just wondering my overall take on the movie, I liked it. It was to me it was a 6 out of 10, 6 being just above average of I like it. So it's, I enjoyed it. I thought it was I thought it, for a lot of the faults that it had in it, it actually stood on its own pretty good. It was a pretty consistent anime movie. Overall, I would watch it again, but I don't really need to watch it again. That's the best way to put it. I love Kang. I can see why people wouldn't like this movie so much, but yeah, that's just my general overall take on it. It's a 6 out of 10 movie. It's above average, and yeah, that's really it. You'll enjoy. I had fun with it. I had a lot of fun with it, and that's a big takeaway. If you're wondering what I would give the other anime movies, the second one would be 5 out of 10, and then the first one would be 7 out of 10. So yeah, so there's that. All right, let's jump into the summary so that we can give some of our overall thoughts. So the summary begins with Antman and Wasp. The Quantumania begins with the small tease of Kang meeting Janet in the quantum realm, thus letting us know that he's the exiled one. As we go into Scott's central scene, where he talks about his life after Endgame and what he and Hope have been up to while being at a book reading, he gets a call and picks it up, and he turns out it's from prison. It's Cassie. She's been incarcerated for focus on being an activist, just like her dad. And while that's going on, they kind of have a family meeting about this. It is nice to see that Hank and Janet are both being seen as the elders of the family. They're very much the grandparents, and I love that Cassie calls him Grandpa Hank. I think it's a pretty cool fucking thing. But yeah, during the family meeting, Hank and Hope and Cassie all want to tell Scott and Janet that they've been working on something. And what they find out is that during the 5 years that they were gone, Cassie stumbled upon Hank's journals and was able to make her own quantum beacon, kind of like a satellite photo where it takes pictures in a quantum realm and can just transfer the energy back to let them know how far it is. It's kind of like fracking, when they just kind of, are able to see the entire bones that are in the ground. While they reveal this about the quantum realm, Janet freaks out and unplugs the machine because finding out that it's a beacon worries her because she knows of the threat that lies beneath. As we keep going, as the machine turns on and sucks them in, we then split up the group into two groups. Group A being Cassie and Scott, and Group B being Janet, Hope, and Hank. As we follow Group A, they run into weird things and eventually come across these rebels who are fighting against Kang, who are ultimately captured by him because he's aware of Scott and Cassie. While that's happening, Group B meets with some raiders and eventually Janet's ex-lover, who turns out to be Bill Murray, who sells them out to Kang, but they escape and go in search for Scott and Cassie. While the camp is attacked, it is revealed that MODOK is actually Darren Cross from the first movie, Yellow Jacket, and he takes Group A to see Kang, where Kang tells Scott a parallel story to Janet's story of how they first met. One thing I really like about this scene a lot, just sprinkling in there, is how nonchalantly Kang is like, "Have I killed you before? Are you the one with the hammer? You all just blend after a while." It just goes to show how many times Kang's actually killed Avengers, and it also shows his hubris with them. It shows that because he's killed so many, he's still underestimating them, that being one of his major fatal flaws in this entire story. I love to see it. So as we're continuing on, Kang lets Scott know that what he wants him to do, and along with all that's happening, Janet's referring back to her family, letting her know exactly what Kang's always been about and why she never let him go. But while that's all going down, Scott generally agrees to explore the power source and take it back for Kang, only to be Schrodinger's cat at the end. What I mean by Schrodinger's cat, I can't say the fucking word. It means that when Scott goes to steal the power source, it causes not a temporal storm. It causes basically an improbable storm where every decision that could or can be made is eventually shown to another Scott, and eventually, after hearing Cassie's screams, they all realize, hey, we're dads at the end of the day, so we gotta do what's good for our daughter. While that's happening, Group B is racing to save Group A and to stop Kang, because if they find out that he takes his power source, he will escape. Scott, with the help of Hope, gets the power source, meets up with Group B, and is betrayed by Kang. In prison, Cassie frees the rebels and sends a message to an attacking force, letting them know, hey, it's our time to strike, let's do it now. While everyone is attacking Kang, Antman gives him the hands, and what I mean gives him the hands means he puts up a pretty good fight in the beginning. But he kind of lacking on his way to, he's kind of lacking on it, but while that's going on, Janet is in the background setting up a backdoor way home. As they believe they won and they eventually beat Kang with the help of Hank's genius ants, they're getting ready to leave, only for Scott to push Cassie through at the end and deal with Kang himself. And this is where the third act really ties the bow on it, where it's like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty fucking great, is the fight scene between Kang and Ant-Man. One thing I really appreciate about this is we see exactly how deadly Kang is as a human being. Yes, Kang is human. Nathaniel Richards is human, and he is just built different. And in this form, the exiled one, Kang the Conqueror, throws hands and just does not let up. I fucking love the scene. But through sheer luck and hope, no pun intended, Hope actually comes back to help out Ant-Man and to 2-on-1 him. Eventually he touches the power source after they've been shrinking and enlarging all at the same time, pushing him to be touching with it and to be seemingly killed. I have contentions with this, and I'll explain later, and when I said I want to keep continuing it. But yeah, as they believe they beat him, Scott goes on to him and Hope get portaled back home, which again I'll talk about later. They go home, they celebrate Cassie's birthdays that they've all missed, they all become a big happy family, only for Scott to have an existential crisis in his head, thinking about, did I really win, or is he still alive, or is his variance gonna come? It becomes a thing of, did we ever really win at all? And then we again end on the birthdays, we end on a good note, only for us to get two good post-credit scenes, which are pretty fucking gnarly, with the Council of Kings, which is something I'm actually really psyched for, being led by Immortus, Ramatut, and the Scarlet Centurion, although the Scarlet Centurion is not looking like that. He could also be Iron Lad. I didn't know exactly what the Metal King would be, so I'm assuming it's either Iron Lad or the Scarlet Centurion. I'm leaning more towards Iron Lad, but let's just go with that for now. And that's a pretty cool scene to see all of the three major kings that we've known in comic books to be the leaders of the said force, and the rest of the council would be so excited. Seeing Jonathan Majors play so many different characters is fucking fantastic, and how much he puts the personality into them makes them seem just so different. The second post-credit scene is a hint into Loki season 2, where one of the king variants is Victor Timely, letting us know that either the exiled one has been doing something else, or Victor Timely is going to be the one who sets up the entire MCU, being the forefather to Howard Stark, and seemingly incorporating himself into every MCU big thing, letting us know that there was never really a chance or anything. The reason why the MCU exists is because Kang allowed it to exist and allowed the events to be allowed the events to happen, so he could then come into being. Yeah, so that was the overall summary of the movie and some little thoughts about it, but I kind of want to talk about what I really liked about the movie, what I didn't like about the movie, so we can end this review, put a nice little bow on it. Some of the things I really liked about the movie were kind of simple and kind of really easy to miss. One thing was I loved how the family vibe has become more incorporated. They've gone from just being this nonchalant family who have always kind of done their own thing to to kind of being this unit. Like when you see the first Ant-Man and Wasp movie or the first Ant-Man movie, you can kind of see that they're kind of a, you know, and you know, Hank and Scott and Hope are they have some animosity towards each other, and eventually they kind of grow to like each other. At the end of this movie, you're kind of like, oh, so this is what incorporating people into a family looks like. How much Cassie like incorporates herself into being called Hank's granddaughter, and how much you can see it does not bother Hank at all. He loves being called Grandpa Hank, and seeing just the family vibe of it. I really genuinely like that. That's one big plus about this movie is although Cassie can kind of seem out of left field, and then they're trying to still kind of find her character, I do enjoy that she's kind of a mix of Scott, but not ultimately a copy of Scott. I know a lot of people are probably going to have their contentions with Cassie. I was kind of back and forth too, but ultimately, because this is the character's first time to shine and she's still very much young, I'm more forgiving in that sense. Another couple things I did like was I do like Kang's characterization. I think Kang is probably one of the best parts of this movie. I think overall, if you leave the theater going, I enjoyed that, but I didn't love it, that's perfectly fine, because Kang's performance, Jonathan Majors' performance, is fantastic, and it's something that I've always kind of seen from Jonathan Majors, is he's always been fantastic. I remember there was a movie called it was a westerner called The Harder They Fall. I fucking enjoyed the shit out of it. It was the first movie I think I've ever seen with Jonathan Majors in it, and I remember thinking, man, this guy is talented. This guy is, wow, this guy is like, he just makes these complex characters seem so human and adequate. I am just baffled of how great it looks, and to see him as Kang and just being able to play different variants of Kang so naturally, from He Who Remains, Kang the Conqueror, Immortus, Ramatut, even whether it's Centurion or Iron Lad, it's fucking rad. And to see another variant being Victor Timely, I'm excited for Loki season 2. The post-credit scenes are fucking fantastic. I love them. The fight scene at the end is great. I just have my little nitpicks with it. I do love the funny adventures that kind of Scott and Cassie kind of go, is when he kind of like, I think it's cute that they both go together, and I think it's really cute that they kind of just find each other through this. They're just Ant-Man's realizing that hero work is never really done, and although Cassie is trying to, you know, she's not really trying to take the mantle, she's just trying to remind him of what it means to be a superhero. I thought that's fantastic. I just loved seeing Scott and Cassie together on screen. I think it was always fun. There's moments where I kind of got little like, okay, we get it, but it was ultimately like 80% of the time it was great. The joke about MODOK being a dick was funny. Darren Cross's animation trying to look disgusting on purpose, I think, was a good choice, because there was never going to be a perfect MODOK, so might as well make your own MODOK where he's just the butt of the joke, and I think that's perfectly fine, because we're kind of more leaning into MODOK being a joke character. A lot of people are going to have contentions with what I said right there, but that's just how I'm seeing it on my end. Yeah, things I didn't like. Oh, let's get into this, because they're pretty big things, and they're just little, I want to say they're nitpicks, but they're very much things I think a lot of it could have, these are things that could have took the movie from being 6 out of 10 to actually 9 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10. And the first one is, I feel like it's a good long adventure, but there's things we could have cut out. I don't think we really needed Bill Murray's character, really. I don't think we needed a lot of some of the side stories. I think we could have rushed them really, not quickly, but we could have cut the fat a lot. There's just a lot of moments where I was like, okay, yeah, that was funny, but we should be playing this moment seriously. We should be playing this moment more to the ground instead of trying to lighten it up. The humor in it isn't a bad thing. It's not like Thor: Love and Thunder where it's overly fucking used, but I do find myself going, okay, I think if this movie was a serious one, it would have made us feel a lot more scared. And it does have its serious moments, I'm not saying it doesn't, but if it had a more serious tone towards like maybe the last act, maybe, or even the second to the third act, we would have all been like holding our breath, and I think that's what it takes away. Another thing is how it ends. I think with everything ending so conveniently nice makes it hard to watch, although there is a theory that it's not ended really nicely, but because subjectively, like on the surface level, we're just led to believe that that Scott wins and they get the way home and everything. I kind of feel cheated. I feel like if Scott would have been stranded and, you know, him and Kang got, you know, zapped across the Quantumania or the quantum realm, I would have loved that a lot. I would have loved that. I would have loved just a serious consequence. I think I would have loved a serious consequence that maybe Scott is stuck there. Maybe he gets away, but you know, he accidentally leaves the key to Kang. I think it was just way too convenient that Hope comes in and wins and helps him save the day. I think it's way too convenient that they get away home. Like it just feels like they're trying to give it a happy ending when I think this is the movie they should have started with. Things don't end happily. Understand that. And we all would have been like, oh fuck, like this is the way to start the phase. Like we're genuinely scared because we saw an Avenger literally have to, like, he still lose, but, you know, not just win against Kang, but show us that we had to spread out the timesheet. Like we're not ready for him yet, but we don't. We have Hope and Scott win, which kind of made me go, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like we need to give Kang a little bit more wins before we try to put something over on him. It feels like WWE style talking. That was like another major thing I had. Just the consequences really didn't feel there. Another thing is I feel like this movie has a lot of plot lines, like setting up the relationship between Scott and Cassie, that just ultimately it starts off with, okay, what I'm gonna do about Cassie, to like Cassie's adventure with him is just very much seen as a therapeutic way of healing. They didn't really even talk about some of the issues that they're having with each other, which they kind of address why Cassie's a little pissed at Scott, but they don't really do, okay, you don't know why I'm doing this now, you don't know what I would want from this, and it just gets glossed over too fast. I think we should, if we were gonna buckle down on these group characters and grouping them with their significant, like, people that they need to, like, bounce off of, we should have wrapped up their storylines, just saying. But yeah, other than that, that's really my nitpicks. That's really where it'll be. If the consequences were real, if the movie was just more streamlined, and if we really, like, got the plot, if we got the characters to, like, really address the problems and really work on what they needed, and, like, wrap up their story arcs, I think this movie would have been honestly 8 out of 10 at the very least. And if this is the worst that Phase 5 has to offer, I'm pleasantly excited, because although this movie was like, I don't know where I had out for it in terms of expectations. I think I was genuinely just having fun with it. So I'm pleasantly surprised that I liked it as much. The thing, how to put this, let me say this a lot easier. I'm pleasantly surprised at how, excuse me with that one, sorry. I'm pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed this a lot more than I initially thought I was going to. I loved seeing Kang. I was very excited. I was stimming through all his moments, just seeing him on screen. I just wish that we would have didn't have to sacrifice the ending of the movie just to put over Jonathan Majors. And what I mean by that is, I feel like just to make Antman seem like he's the winner and he wins and he got everything that he needed, we put him over. I will say one little theory is, like, I want to just talk about before we end this, like, review, is I think it is very interesting that we focus on the ending scene with Scott realizing that he really didn't win. I think that's what kind of saves the movie to make it a 6 out of 10, because if he had no consequences at all, I think this movie would be just Thor Love and Thunder again. But because Scott genuinely goes, I don't know if I won, like, he starts realizing there's kind of a consequence, that killing, it's kind of like what Loki season 1 did, which was after the death they realized there is consequences to killing a Kang. Like, he will see him again. There are other variants. Then this one very much kind of, like, solidifies, like, yes, we didn't win. We don't know if I don't even know if I killed this one. Like, there might be a whole, like, the whole idea of, like, there's so much more out there makes it more terrifying. It makes him, like, his little freak out kind of more justified. And I think that's what really saves the movie for me, is that we don't know if he won. He keeps seeing purple and green together, which makes me think that he ended up coming back into a timeline that was ultimately influenced by Kang significantly. And I think that's what Loki season 2 is going to focus on, that how much Kang has been a side character, or a character that's inspired a character, or done something to move the perpetual ball rolling, you know. He really gets the ball rolling for these characters to eventually be this or that. Yeah, but that's it for me, guys. This is my Ant-Man review. I'm gonna Post this eventually. I probably have this recorded sometime down the week after I watched Antman and the Wasp. If you guys enjoyed the movie, let me know what you liked. If you didn't enjoy it, let me know what you didn't like. Maybe you agree with me on some points, maybe you don't agree with me on some points. Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your boys and your fellow girls, and I will catch you guys later. Have a wonderful day. I have been your sadistic spaghetti yokai Poppy. We'll sing peace out, peace and love, guys, and adios. Bye-bye.